Hello and welcome back to Titsburg Feeler News. I am your host, TG13. Today we're going to talk about everything going around the league right now, around the NFL, and we're going to do some comparisons like we did last week, quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers. So let's get started. News around the NFL. Saints wide receiver Michael Thomas has had ankle surgery and expected to miss the beginning of the season. I've seen reports where he could miss the first 6 weeks. If that happens, you got to look at Alvin Kamara is going to get he's going to get the ball a lot because they don't have much outside of him. Adam Troutman at tight end, and it really depends: is Taysom Hill starting at quarterback or is it Jameis Winston? I thought last week that Jameis Winston was going to be the starting quarterback. Um, but now I really don't know. I don't know what to think of the Saints right now. I know we have training camp starting this week, so maybe we'll see somebody emerge. But there's not a lot going on right now down there in New Orleans. Next up, we have Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers is expected to announce his retirement this week. I believe Tuesday. I don't think that's going to last very long. We saw Carson Palmer when he was with the Bengals. He did the same thing. Look, Aaron Rodgers he's too good. He's not going to retire. He might retire and be playing somewhere else week one. Um, I don't know what's going on in Green Bay right now. I mean that's just ridiculous. I've always had a soft spot for Green Bay. Um, Something needs to change up there. I mean, this is getting ridiculous. But again, I don't think he'll be playing week one. I just don't know if it'll be for Green Bay. Speaking of which, Packers and wide receiver Devontae Adams, they have in negotiations for an extension. Um, Again, who knows what's going on up there? Um, do we see Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams? Could there be a trade with Denver? Denver would send over pretty much everything to get Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. They had the young players to do it. They can throw in a couple draft picks this next year's first round, and then um, the year after that's first round. Jerry Judy. Um, you know, I don't know. Again, I don't know what's going on in Green Bay. Um, Eagles tight end Zach Ertz is expected to attend training camp. There were a lot of reports coming out that he was going to hold out. He's turning 31 years old in November. He had a down year last year with Carson Wentz gone. I know he wants out of there. I really hope he can go to the Jags. I hope he gets traded. But as of right now, he is expected to attend the started training camp. Cowboys wide receiver Amari Cooper has been placed on the team's PUP list. He's still recovering from last year's injury. I brought that up a couple weeks ago when I was talking about him and CD Lamb. Um, he just cannot stay healthy right now. I mean, here we are, and he's still trying to recover from that ankle injury. I think he's fantasy football wise. I think he's being drafted. I think it was in a 12-team league. I think it was fifth or sixth round. Um, I think he's being drafted a little too high just on name alone. I mean, yeah, you're going to get really good weeks out of him, but he's still going to miss games. I mean, the guy's just injury prone. I mean, it is what it is. Giants running back Saquon Barkley is expected to be a full participant at the start of training camp. That's good. He tore his ACL last year. I know it was at the beginning of the year. He's come out and said that he doesn't want to play until he's 110% ready. But it's good to hear that he's expected to be a participant at the beginning of training camp. And I mean, it means that leg's coming along pretty well, and that's good to hear. Giants rookie wide receiver Kadarius Toney has been placed on the COVID list. The only reason I put that on there, rookie running back, rookie wide receiver coming in. You have a quarterback that possibly could not be there next year, depending on how he plays this year, but I don't think he will. I think the Giants will try to draft another quarterback or try to trade for a quarterback. Aaron Rodgers. God, could you imagine Aaron Rodgers in New York? Oh, that would be amazing. Whew. Sorry. Just had an orgasm. Anyways, the only reason I put that on there is because rookie wide receivers need to be able to work out with their quarterbacks as much as possible, and now he can't do that. So fantasy football wise, I see him dropping down the rankings. He probably won't even be drafted in Titsburg Feelers now. I know a couple people might have picked him up in the last couple rounds. But yeah, that definitely hurts him fantasy football wise. Rams are not expected to sign a free agent running back after Cam Akers tore his Achilles last week. They have Darrell Henderson, Xavier Jones, Raymond Calais, and a 7th round pick. I can't see because my screen's in the way. But Funk, the 7th round pick. Those all those players are rounding out the backfield. And I put that on there because I know Cody had Cam Akers. We were expecting a lot out of him this year. I was expecting a lot out of him this year. He tears his Achilles. Darrell Henderson is now the starter, which Milky has on his team. I had him keeping Mike Davis until this injury, and now I have him keeping Darrell Henderson. It doesn't sound like they're going to go after a free agent. So you've got a decent starting running back who I think is better than Mike Davis. So, yeah, fantasy-wise, that's how it affects us. And Tampa Bay tight end Cameron Brate has been placed on the active PUP list. I know he's not really getting drafted. I just wanted to put it on there because it's an offensive player. And again, we are a fantasy football league. So if you thought Cameron Brate was going to be great this year, he's already injured. We're not even in training camp yet. So let's move on. All right, into some comparisons. Right now we're going to do quarterback comparisons. So player one's team threw the ball 38.2 times a game last year. Player two, 41.3. So, as you can tell, player two throws about 3 more times. I'm not going to break it down like that, but yeah, he throws the ball more. Passing yards. Player one, little over 4,200 yards, 263 yards per game. Player two, 4,300 yards and 389 yards per game. Passing touchdowns. Player one with 40, player two with 31. True completion percentage, 75.7% for player one, 76.3% for player two. So just sitting here looking at this, I'm thinking, man, player two, he throws the ball more, he has more yards. Yeah, he has less touchdowns. He has a higher completion percentage. That's pretty good right now. Red zone completion, 64.7% for player one, 56.2% for player two. You're like, okay, that's a little down, but everything else, player two is doing pretty good. Production efficiency, plus 20.8 for player one. He ranks third in the NFL. That's amazing. Player two is plus 5.3. Not that good. I mean, it's good, but if you look at player one, plus 20.8, I mean, man, that guy's like the heart and soul of his team. Let's look at rushing yards. I'm going to take my screen off so I can see. Let's look at rushing yards. 513 yards for player one, 234 for player two. You're like, okay. Player two is more of a of a passing quarterback, pocket quarterback. Player one, rushing touchdowns, 2. Player two, 5. You're like, okay. I have a pocket quarterback in player two. He can run if he needs to. Red zone carries, 5 for player one, 20 for player two. That definitely helps fantasy football wise. You get down in the red zone. You get more points for a rushing touchdown, and so you have your quarterback. At least last year, he had 20 carries inside the red zone. That's pretty good. He had 5 rushing touchdowns. The 2020 offensive line rank for player one was 14th. And for player 2, 32nd. No wonder that quarterback was rushing player 2, 32nd. That's ridiculous. Um, sorry about that. 2021 offensive line rank, as of right now, is 23rd for player 1 and 16th for player 2. So that offensive line for player 2 got a lot better. So if you look at it just right now, he loves to throw the ball. He runs when he needs to. His offensive line was garbage last year. They're middle of the pack right now. So you're sitting there getting ready to draft, and you're looking at these quarterbacks. That's something you got to think of: is how is their offensive line compared from last year to this year? I mean, just right there, 32nd to 16th. I mean, that's a huge overall. 2020 schedule rank for player 1 was 20, for player 2, 26th. This year's rank for player 1, 11th, and for player 2, 17th. ADPs right now, player 1, 802, player 2, 706. Again, these are 8-team mock drafts, 8-team ADPs. So you're sitting here in the 7th round, and you can draft player 1, player 2. Player 2 is going higher as of right now. Now I'm going to show you why most people, if they're sitting here at, let's say, in the 7th round, pick 5, whatever. You're sitting there in the 7th round, you need a quarterback. Here's why I think people will draft player 1 over player 2. That right there. Russell Wilson, player 1. He's got the name. Justin Herbert, player 2. I just showed you. We go back. I can't go back. It won't let me. But if you go back, Justin Herbert was a better quarterback last year. I love Russell Wilson. It's Pete Carroll. They don't let him cook. They love just running the ball. But yes, if I was sitting there in the 7th round and I needed a quarterback, I would pick Justin Herbert. On to the next one. Running back comparison. So snap shares, 66.5%, 68.7. Carries, 165 to 142. Red zone touches, 49 versus 42. So you can tell right now, and the reason I picked all these players, they're all around the same ADP. So the quarterback, running back, wide receiver, they're all going to be around the same. And I did that on purpose. I didn't want one player way out and then another player way out here. I mean, that's not fun. But let's say you're sitting here. I think ADPs are 603 and 703. So you're sitting there in the 6th round. You're looking at these two players. So we just went over snap share, carries, red zone touches, rushing yards. 642 for player 1, 584 for player 2. Receptions, 59 versus 47. Reception yards, 373 versus 388. These players are about the same, and you're seeing that. It's scooby. Total touchdowns, 8 and 5. Production efficiency, plus 1.6 for player 1, plus 0.9. I mean, again, these players are the same player. Defenders in the box are about the same. Offensive line for player 1 last year was 18th. For player 2, 28th. So that's a pretty big difference. You look at this year's offensive line ranking, 31st for player 1, 22nd for player 2. So player 2's offensive line got a little bit better. And then you look at the strength of schedule, 4th last year versus 21st. So player 1 obviously had the harder schedule. This year, 26th versus 27th, they're about the same. So again, you're sitting here, let's say in the 6th round, beginning of the 6th round, you're looking at these two players. Like, man, I really need a running back. Whether it be a running back 2 or a running back 3, I got a tight end, I've got a wide receiver. Who do I go with? And I'm going to show you these two players. Off of this, I would probably go with player 2. Like rushing yards per game, 58.4 versus 45.9. Receptions, 4.7 per game versus 4.2. Reception yards, 38.8 reception yards per game versus 26.6 reception yards per game. So I'd probably go with player 2. But I'm gonna show you these 2 players and let you decide if you're sitting there in the 6th round. Mike Davis and Myles Gaskin. Sorry, that's the only picture I could find in the short amount of time that I had. I know Mike Davis doesn't play for the 49ers, and Myles Gaskin was at Washington. I know he's not playing for Washington anymore. Hey, buddy. This is Scooby. I don't know if you can see him. He's my puppy. Big old puppy. But yes, those are the 2 players: Mike Davis, Myles Gaskin. Um, I don't trust Mike Davis right now in Atlanta. I don't think they have the offensive line for it. I know Myles Gaskin with the Dolphins. If you look back, the uh, offensive line's gotten better. I think they're going to be decent this year, so I would prefer Myles Gaskin over Mike Davis. Right now, Mike Davis is being drafted over Myles Gaskin. I think. Can't go back. All right, wide receiver comparison. Scooby, go lay down. Go lay down. Scooby, go lay down. Good boy. Okay, wide receiver comparison. Player 1 snap share 78.2%, player 2 79.8. Pass plays per game 41.3 versus 36.8. Targets 85 versus 113. Red zone targets 11 versus 8. Receptions 48 versus 52. And I know you're sitting there and you're like, man, he only got 48 and 52 receptions. Like, why are you talking about him? If you look down, current ADP, I did this for later in the draft because I've been doing about like the mid tier, like 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round. And so I was like, you know what? I want to go towards the end. I want to do around towards the end of the draft. So 15.8 versus 15.9. These players are back to back. Receptions 48 versus 52. Reception yards 756 versus 856. Total touchdowns 5 for player 1, 3 for player 2. True catch rate 85.7% for player 1, 73.2% for player 2. So what that shows me is player 2 had problems dropping the ball last year. Now, is that something that will continue? I know going in to the NFL, he was known to have great hands. But 73.2% is not good. And I'll show you the players after this. So player 2 is known to drop the football. You look at production efficiency plus 2.4%, negative 16.3% for player 2. So you're starting to see the difference. Like, man, at the beginning of this, I really like player 2, but I'm really starting to think player 1 is more efficient. Better true catch rate, efficiency wise, he's better. 2020 strength of schedule, 26 for player 1 and 5th for player 2. So you can see that, yeah, player 2 had the hardest schedule last year, but still he's got to catch the football. He's a wide receiver in the NFL. If you're a fantasy manager, you need wide receivers that can catch, not somebody that just drops the ball every time it gets thrown to him. Evan Ingram, that's the name I was thinking of. 2021 strength of schedule, 17th for player 1 and 27th for player 2. Then you look at the current ADPs, 15.8, 15.9. So again, you're sitting there in the 15th round. This is about the time you need that boom player. Like, who can I get? So you're looking at player 1, you're like, okay, his floor is a lot better. He's a lot more efficient. He can catch. Yeah, he doesn't get a lot of receptions, not a lot of reception yards. Decent amount of touchdowns, 5. But you're looking at player 2, and you're like, the guy, he had 73.2% catch rate, and he's not efficient whatsoever last year. Yeah, they had a tough schedule. Yeah, they got an easier schedule this year. But their team, they throw the ball less. Yeah, he has a higher snap share. He doesn't get a lot of red zone targets. Not a huge fan of player 2. So when I show this, you're going to be like, TG, you're an idiot. But these are the analytics that I'm showing you right now. These are the numbers. Mike Williams versus Jerry Judy. So true catch rate, because I know everybody's going to go, well, Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck, jeez. Lock sucks. Drew Lock sucks. That's fine. But true catch rate is when that player is supposed to catch the football. So if it's right here or right here, that player should catch the football. Jerry Judy was not doing that last year. He just couldn't catch. Mike Williams is Justin Herbert, who I showed earlier in the quarterbacks. Great quarterback. He's got a good running back. Not that that really matters for him, but it'll open up the field for him a little bit. So there, when you're in the later rounds, like, man, maybe I should pick Mike Williams over Jerry Judy. I know Baby D is a huge Denver fan, and he's just going to think I'm an idiot. I don't even know if he watches these, but he's going to think I'm an idiot for saying Jerry Judy. But yes, I would pick right now Mike Williams over Jerry Judy. Jerry Judy, he better have a fantastic sophomore season to prove me wrong. I think CeeDee Lamb versus Jerry Judy. They were drafted last year, so everybody was picking sides. Jerry Judy, CeeDee Lamb, who I like. I believed at the time that CeeDee Lamb was better than Jerry Judy. CeeDee Lamb was better than Jerry Judy last year, and I think going forward that CeeDee Lamb will be better than Jerry Judy. I know this is the fantasy show, but I would prefer Mike Williams over Jerry Judy. So again, we went over what's going around the NFL right now. We went over some comparisons. Please like this video, subscribe, do whatever you got to do to get this channel growing a little bit. I'm TG13. Again, spay and neuter your dogs and cats. Have a good night.